In 2022, I lost thousands of dollars holding an obscure digital currency called the Great British Pound. Thanks to the incompetence of the incumbent government, my national currency plummeted almost 40 cents compared to the dollar. This wasn't even the first time the pound had a precipitous drop in recent memory, having previously shed 20 cents during COVID. I wasn't holding the pound because I expected the GBP coin to moon, but rather because it's the neutral position for a British citizen if they don't want to invest or trade. However, as I found out firsthand, the safest position isn't always safe, and whilst I don't live in Zimbabwe or the Weimar Republic, in that moment my money in the bank had lost massive value in the international market. This speaks to an uncomfortable reality upon reaching adulthood that we're inadequately prepared for. When we start to earn money, we're immediately dropped into a highly competitive, hardcore PvP game, and everyone is forced to play. You're probably already getting suspicious of where I'm heading. Many cults have cropped up over the last decade promising the solution to protecting wealth. Typically, people invest in American exceptionalism or their preferred country's stock market via an index, hoping for continual growth over time, even if drops occur on shorter timeframes. Property is compelling, but unobtainable for most, in part due to having become an investment vehicle for the rich. Other talking heads will point to gold, the oldest store of value on earth, or God's money. And of course, the loudest and most obnoxious voices preach Bitcoin.
If you want to 10x your money, if you want to take whatever you've got and do 10x, buy Bitcoin. And if you want 100x, if you want to make extreme amounts of money, 100x, 1000x, if you want to make hundreds of millions or billions, then you buy Bitcoin with somebody else's money, right? I mean, this is not a complicated idea. People have levered real estate for 100 years. The difference is this is the most valuable real estate humanity has ever come up with. It's digital real estate, right? It's much more scarce. It's cyber Manhattan. Well, what happens if it stops going up? It's like, well, what happens if water stops flowing downhill? What happens if time goes backwards, right?
What are the most piercing counter, or if you were to take the exact opposite side, like what are the biggest counter arguments to not buying Bitcoin?
Conventional wisdom is the number one friction point or impediment right now.
The most insidious aspect of the Bitcoin cult is how compelling many of its arguments are. Money is becoming digital. Hyperinflation is a threat. Sending money abroad via traditional payment rails is notoriously difficult, and it is unrealistic to expect Timmy to buy a new Fortnite skin with a gold doubloon. However, all of these arguments rest on Bitcoin functioning as a currency, which it's incapable of doing due to its slow speeds and high fees. The most ardent Bitcoin defenders have largely abandoned even defending this point, insisting instead that Bitcoin now serves as a store of value or digital gold. This narrative is pure sophistry. Every investment offers the belief that the price will appreciate. Bitcoin is forced to fall back on this shared facet because it offers nothing else, having already been surpassed by several successors in the space. Despite being in the cryptosphere since 2017, I'm usually reticent to mention that publicly, given its deserved reputation of being a grotesque playground for scammers. Whilst the ingredients for the outright greed and rampant disconnect in reality we see today within crypto were certainly present back in 2017, we at least pretended to have read the white papers for new coins, each proposing to solve a separate problem via the blockchain. Several years have passed and this facade has fallen. Even the US president has gotten in on the grift with the Trump and Melania tokens, their only utility enriching a billionaire and his cronies that control the supply. The reality, of course, is that crypto has accomplished nothing outside of its original use case, peer-to-peer money. No company has used the blockchain for any substantive purpose, and every coin's price, Bitcoin most of all, is ran purely by speculation. The only time I've used crypto was to accept payments for coaching or sponsors, and amongst crypto's distended belly, there do exist white blood cells for this intended payment use case. Nano. Nano to me represents the crypto grail hidden amongst an array of gaudy goblets, each prone to melting your face off via a dev exit scam or an exploited smart contract. Unlike Bitcoin, Nano is profoundly functional. It's both the fastest method to settle a transaction at around 400 milliseconds and the only crypto that is feeless to transact with. Furthermore, it had the fairest possible distribution method you could conceive of. Starting from 2015, for 2 years, anyone could obtain Nano via completing Google Capture forms. No intensive computing power is needed, just your time, and as a result, a lot of the distribution went to people and countries with weaker currencies. No more Nano will ever be added to the market, it's already fully distributed, unlike Bitcoin, which continues to be printed via the dreadfully wasteful mining process. A small portion of the Nano supply was kept for the non-profit dev team, but this has since been depleted, transitioning Nano to an open source project. This development is ongoing, with a prominent upgrade having recently been published, which amongst other things addressed the vulnerability of spam attacks, making it so ordinary users can still transact. Nano truly is the best in slot option for payments, and of course it's largely dismissed in what has become an inverted industry, residing at rank 300 in market valuation. I want to make it clear that I'm not advising you to buy or sell anything. This is a video essay of my analysis of why I use and own Nano, meant for your entertainment. Maybe Mordhau cooked my brain and made me delusional. Let me know in the comments. You should be aware that investing in the crypto market is incredibly dangerous. You face not only massive price volatility, but also here today, gone tomorrow exchanges and user error pitfalls. So research thoroughly before considering entry, because there is a real risk of losing everything and nobody will come to help you. I do, however, invite you to try Nano for free. I'll link a Nano Faucet website below that allows you to receive a tiny amount to play with, which is only possible with Nano due to its unique feeless nature. There are Nano wallets available on mobile that you can get started with and learn the basics if you're interested. These websites aren't run by the Nano devs, but by the ardent community who have hung on to the premise of a pure decentralized digital currency. Whilst a lot of the world already has free and instant bank transfers, that luxury does not extend to international transfers, and after trying Nano, it's difficult not to be enthralled. Functionally, it's the best money that exists today, leaving practically no space for a competitor, and the Nano zealots, which I find myself in the ranks of, are quick to remind others of this fact. Being able to send money anywhere instantly for free is a profoundly powerful tool. For example, I've disabled adverts for this video, and instead you can tip me a few cents worth of Nano to my wallet linked below, should you so desire. Beyond the novelty of micropayments, for me, Nano's strongest allure is the potential of a truly neutral position, a wealth deposit immune from both potential government buffoonery and guaranteed inflation. Unlike Bitcoin's store of nothing, Nano's value in a hypothetical world of adoption will be its ability to transact with anyone else globally. I believe this would have positive trickle-down effects for society as a whole. For example, people wouldn't be compelled to park their money in assets that they otherwise would have less interest in, like property. As a result, those assets would trade at more reasonable prices, and more people could actually afford to own a home. I find myself agreeing with Martin Shkreli's take that the average Joe shouldn't trade.
I don't know what you do if you're an average person. I'm not sure you should be investing, unless you have the time to dedicate to it. I don't know. I wouldn't invest or trade if I was the average Joe. It's a very, very scary financial world. Is kill or be killed. It's very tricky. Every time you make a trade, you're at a disadvantage. I don't know that the horizon helps you either. What guarantees do we even have that the S&P will go up? None. None whatsoever. If you want to be bullish on America, I think, you can be. But you're making an implicit bet. Just because the S&P has gone up for decades doesn't mean it'll keep going up for decades. There's no reason to believe that that has to be the case. What intrinsically about the S&P 500 means it has to go up? I'm not saying China's it either. I'm not saying real estate's it either. I'm just saying you have to ask tough questions.
But as I found out 3 years ago, even inaction is still playing. The only way out for trading noobs is if the world adopts a single non-inflationary digital currency, and what could be better than Nano? The biggest pushback against Nano that I see is the claim that even if Nano works, nobody cares. What good is money that you can't spend? And while some services accept Nano, personally, I would gladly accept it for Stouty coaching, preventing PayPal from taking a cut. But that statement is largely accurate. In the absence of a massive adoption spike, I see Nano as a fiscal fire hydrant. Most of the time it's easy to ignore, but should you see smoke, you'll be glad it's there.